I still remember the day I realized something was wrong. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. It was quiet, like most painful things in life. I was sitting alone at the kitchen table, holding a cup of tea that had already gone cold. The house was silent. Too silent for a place that once echoed with laughter, homework questions, and late-night talks. That was the day I learned my daughter had taken the money. The money I had saved for years. The money meant for her education. The money meant for her future. She used it for her wedding. When she finally told me, I did not scream. I did not cry. I did not even raise my voice. I just smiled. Because sometimes, when your heart breaks too deeply, your face forgets how to show it. This is not a story about money. It never was. This is a story about trust, about motherhood, about the quiet ways love can be taken for granted, and about the moment I realized that raising a child does not always mean they will protect your heart in return. My name is Margaret. At least, that is what people call me now. I am a mother. That has been my most important title for over 25 years. I was never rich. I was never poor either. I lived a simple life, the kind where you learn to plan, to save, and to wait. I worked as an administrative assistant at a small community college. Nothing fancy. Just a desk, a computer, and a steady paycheck. I learned early in life that stability mattered more than luxury. That showing up mattered more than showing off. That love was built slowly, quietly, every day. When my daughter Emily was born, I made a promise to myself. I promised her future would be better than my past. I promised I would do everything I could to give her choices. Emily was my only child. From the moment I held her, my world became smaller and fuller at the same time. She had big eyes and a loud cry. She wanted to be heard. Even as a baby, she had opinions. As she grew, she was curious and bright. She asked questions about everything. Why is the sky blue? Why do people get sad? Why do I have to go to bed early? I loved her curiosity. I loved her energy. I raised her mostly on my own. Her father and I separated when she was 5. There was no dramatic fight. No shouting matches. Just 2 people who slowly realized they were better apart. After that, it was just Emily and me. Being a single mother was not easy. But it was honest. There were nights I fell asleep at the kitchen table, bills spread out in front of me. There were mornings I skipped breakfast so Emily could have a full lunch. But I never told her about those sacrifices. I never wanted her to feel like a burden. I wanted her to feel supported. Safe. Every night, I tucked her into bed and kissed her forehead. I told her the same thing every time. You can be anything you want. And I meant it. When Emily was 7, I opened a savings account. I labeled it in my notebook, Emily College Fund. I did not have much to put in at first. Sometimes it was $50. Sometimes it was only $20. But I was consistent. Every raise, every bonus, every extra dollar, I put it aside. It became my quiet pride, my secret comfort. Even on hard days, I would think, at least her future is growing. I did not talk about it much. I did not brag. I just saved. As Emily entered her teenage years, she changed. That is normal, I know now. She became more independent, more private. She still loved me, I believe that. But she needed less of me.
She spent more time in her room, more time on her phone. I learned to give her space. I did not want to be the kind of mother who held too tightly. Still, every night, I waited until I heard her bedroom door close before going to sleep. Just to know she was home, safe. Emily talked about college often. She wanted to study marketing. She loved ideas, creativity, and people. I listened. I encouraged her. I told her, "You can go anywhere you want." And in my heart, I believed it. The college fund was growing, not enough for a private university, but enough for a solid start. Enough to help. I felt proud, quietly proud. Things started to change when Emily met Ryan. Ryan was charming, confident, a little too confident maybe. He came from a family with more money than we had, not extremely wealthy but comfortable. They went on trips, nice restaurants, concerts. Emily seemed happy, and that was what mattered to me. Still, I noticed something. She stopped talking about college as much. She talked more about the future with Ryan. About houses, about weddings. I smiled and nodded. Inside, I felt a small unease. When Emily told me they were engaged, I hugged her tightly. I told her I was happy for her. And I was, truly. But I also asked gently, "What about school?" She smiled and said, "I can go back later, Mom." Later. That word stayed with me. After the engagement, Emily became busy, very busy. Wedding plans, dress fittings, venues. She talked about colors and flowers and guest lists. I listened. I helped where I could. But I noticed something else. She stopped mentioning money. And I assumed that was a good thing. I assumed she had things under control. I trusted her. Trust is a strange thing. You do not notice it until it is gone. I trusted my daughter because I had raised her, because I believed love meant safety. I never imagined she would cross that line. I never imagined she would take something I had protected for years. Not without asking, not without telling me, not without understanding what it meant. If I had known then what I know now, I might have asked more questions. I might have spoken sooner. But love makes you quiet, love makes you patient. And sometimes, love makes you blind. I thought I was doing the right thing. I did not know I was about to lose more than money. I was about to lose a piece of trust that would never fully return. The wedding plans moved faster than I expected. One day, Emily was talking about ideas. The next day, everything was booked. Venues, caterers, decorations. It felt like watching a train pick up speed. Once it started moving, nothing could slow it down. Emily talked excitedly, her words tumbling over each other. I smiled and listened. Inside, I tried to keep up. There were moments I remember now. Small moments. Small moments? Expensive, like when she showed me pictures of the venue. I asked gently. She laughed and said, "Don't worry, Mom, we've got it handled." I nodded. I believed her. Because mothers want to believe. As the weeks passed, I felt myself moving to the edges of her life. Not pushed away, just not needed. Texted shorter. When I offered help, she said, "I'm okay, Mom. Ryan's family is helping." I told myself that was normal, that children grow up, that letting go is part of love. Still, the silence felt heavier than I expected. One afternoon, I sat down to organize my papers. I liked things neat, labeled, in order. I opened the folder with the college fund statements. I had not checked it in a while. I trusted it, like you trust the ground under your feet. But when I looked at the numbers, something felt wrong. The balance was lower, much lower. Then I checked again. My hands felt cold. At first I thought it was a mistake. Banks make mistakes sometimes. Compared dates, compared amounts. The withdrawals were real, large ones. I told myself there had to be an explanation. There always is until there isn't. I didn't call Emily right away. I wanted to think. To breathe. I made tea, sat at the table. The house felt too quiet again. I remembered all the nights I added money to that account, all the plans, all the hope. I waited until evening before calling her. She answered cheerfully. "Hi, Mom." I swallowed. My voice came out softer than I expected. "Emily." I was looking at the college fund. There was a pause. Just a small one, but long enough. "Oh," she said. "Yeah, about that." Those words landed heavily. I asked quietly, "What about it?" She sighed, like I was asking something obvious. "We needed some extra money for the wedding." I said nothing at first. I was trying to understand. "You needed money," I repeated. "Yes," she said. "It was just sitting there, Mom." Just sitting there? Like it had no purpose, like it had no meaning. I took a breath. "Emily," I said, "that money was for your education." "I know," she replied quickly, "but the wedding is important too." Important. I closed my eyes. She continued, "I'll go back to school later." This was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Once in a lifetime. So was the trust I had given her. I did not yell. I did not cry. I asked softly, "Why didn't you ask me?" There was another pause. "I didn't think you'd understand," she said. That hurt more than anything else. After that conversation, something shifted. Not loudly, quietly. Our words became careful, measured. She acted like everything was fine. I acted like I believed her. But something fragile had cracked. The wedding day came closer. Invitations were sent. Dresses were fitted. People congratulated me. "You must be so proud," they said. I smiled, because smiling was easier than explaining. At fittings and meetings, I felt like a guest, not a mother. Ryan's family took the lead. They spoke confidently, decisively. I stayed quiet. I did not want to cause tension. I did not want to ruin her happiness. At night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. I wondered if I had failed somewhere, if I had been too trusting, too gentle. But then I reminded myself, love should not require permission. The day arrived bright and clear. The venue looked like something from a magazine. Emily looked beautiful, radiant. When she hugged me, she whispered, "Thank you for everything, Mom." I hugged her back, held on a little longer. I wondered if she knew what everything meant. During the ceremony, I smiled. I clapped. I watched my daughter begin a new life. Inside, my heart felt heavy. Not broken, just tired. That day, I realized something important. You can love someone deeply and still feel unseen. You can support their dreams while quietly losing your own. I told myself it would get better. That time would heal it. I didn't know the hardest part was still ahead. After the wedding, the house felt emptier than ever. Not just because Emily was gone, but because something between us had changed. Her room was still the same, posters on the wall, books on the shelf. But it felt like a museum now, a place frozen in time. I walked past her door slowly, as if she might step out and say, "Mom, I forgot something." She never did. The silence that followed. At first, she called often. Short calls, busy calls. "How are you, Mom?" "I'm fine." That was all. Then the calls became less frequent. Once a week, then once every 2 weeks. I told myself she was adjusting to married life, that this was normal. Still, the silence hurt. The letter from the bank. One afternoon, a letter arrived. Plain envelope, no warning. It was from the bank. They were confirming the account activity, large withdrawals, account balance nearing zero. I sat at the table and read it twice, then a third time. This made it real. Not emotional, not personal. Just facts on paper. The weight of realization. I realized then that the money was gone. Not borrowed, not temporary. Gone. The future I had carefully planned had been quietly erased. And the person who erased it was the one I trusted most. Questioning myself. I asked myself questions I had never asked before. Did I spoil her? Did I fail to teach boundaries? Did I confuse love with silence? I replayed years in my head, moments, decisions. But regret has no answers, only echoes. A month after the wedding, Emily visited. She came alone. She looked tired, different, older. We hugged. It felt careful, like hugging someone fragile. We sat in the living room. The space between us felt larger than the room. I wanted to speak. I wanted to explain. But words felt heavy. Finally, I said, "Emily, can we talk about the money?" She looked down. "I knew this would come up," she said quietly. She told me about pressure, about expectations. Ryan's family wanted a perfect wedding, a certain image. She said she felt trapped, embarrassed to ask for help. "I didn't want to disappoint anyone," she said. I listened. I always listened. When she finished, I spoke. "I saved that money for years," I said softly. "Not for a party, for your future." She nodded. "I know," she whispered. The moment that broke me. Then she said something I will never forget. "You don't really need it anymore, Mom." Those words landed quietly, but they broke something deep inside me. I realized then that she saw my sacrifices as something finished, completed, like a job done. I did not argue. I did not accuse. I said, "That money was never just money." She looked confused. "It was time," I continued. "It was nights I stayed awake. Choices I made, things I gave up." She stayed silent. In that moment, I saw the distance clearly. Not physical, emotional. She was living a new life, and I was part of the past. Important once, but no longer central. When she stood to leave, she hugged me again. Quickly. "I love you, Mom," she said. "I know," I replied. But love, I was learning, does not always mean understanding. After she left, I sat in the same chair for a long time. The sun moved across the room. The light changed. I did not cry. I felt empty and tired. That night, I understood something painful. Children grow up. They build lives. But sometimes in doing so, they forget the foundation that held them. And sometimes, that foundation has feelings too. I knew I had a choice. I could hold on to anger, or I could protect what was left of my heart. I chose quiet strength. Not forgiveness yet, just acceptance. That was the moment everything changed. Not because of what she took, but because of what she no longer saw. And I knew then that healing would not come from her apology. It would have to begin with me. My daughter stole my college fund for her wedding, learning to live with the quiet. The days after that visit moved slowly, not heavy, just quiet. I woke up, made my tea, sat by the window. Life did not stop, but it felt softer now, almost distant. I realized I had been holding my breath for years, waiting, hoping. Now there was nothing left to wait for. I began doing small things for myself, things I had forgotten. Morning walks, old music, books I never had time to read. At first it felt strange, almost selfish, but slowly it felt peaceful. I remembered who I was. Before I became only a mother, Emily sent photos sometimes, her new home, holiday dinners. I smiled at them, truly smiled. But I no longer tried to be part of every moment. I stopped asking questions that hurt. I learned that love can exist, even when expectations are gone. One night I wrote her a letter, not to accuse, not to explain, just to release. I wrote about the nights I worked late, about dreams I set aside, about how proud I still was of her. I folded the letter. Then I placed it in a drawer. Some words are meant to heal the writer, not the reader. I asked myself something important. If I never get an apology, can I still move forward? The answer came quietly. Yes, because my peace cannot depend on someone else's awareness. I stopped seeing myself as a victim, and that changed everything. I was a woman who loved deeply, who gave freely. That was not weakness. That was strength. And strength does not disappear just because it was misunderstood. One evening my phone rang. It was Emily. Her voice sounded softer, less rushed. "Mom," she said, "I've been thinking a lot." I listened. She told me married life was not as simple as she imagined. Bills, responsibilities. She said she finally understood what it takes to plan a future. I didn't realize how much you carried alone, she said. Her words were not perfect, but they were honest, and that was enough. I did not remind her of the money. I did not reopen old wounds. I said, I never wanted you to feel guilty. I wanted you to feel grounded. She was quiet. Then she said, I want to do better. Forgiveness did not rush in. It walked slowly, like someone careful not to trip. I allowed it to sit beside me, not fully inside my heart yet, but close. Our relationship did not return to what it was. And that was okay. We were rebuilding something new, something more honest, less dependent, more respectful. The money never came back, and I did not ask for it. What mattered more was the return of acknowledgement. She saw me again, not just as her mother, but as a person. I learned something important. Love does not mean giving until you disappear. It means giving without losing yourself. I had learned that lesson late, but not too late. Now, when I sit by the window, I feel calm, not empty, not bitter, just present. I still love my daughter, deeply, but I also love myself. Healing did not come from fixing the past. It came from understanding it and learning that my worth was never measured by what I gave away. My daughter stole my college fund for her wedding. Looking back, gently. When I look back now, I do not see a mistake. I see a season of love, a long season, one filled with sacrifice, patience, and quiet hope. I used to think my worth was tied to what I provided, what I gave, what I carried. But time has a way of teaching us gently what the money really was. That college fund was never just numbers in a bank. It was time. It was effort. It was meals skipped, dreams delayed. But it was also love given freely. And love, once given, does not disappear, even when misunderstood. My daughter, still my daughter. Emily is still my daughter. That never changed. She made choices. So did I. We both learned in different ways. She learned what it costs to build a life. I learned what it costs to give without limits. Neither lesson was easy. Today, our conversations feel different, slower, more honest. We do not talk every day, and that is okay. When we do talk, there is respect and care. Not perfect, but real. I wish I had known sooner that being a good mother does not mean being silent. It means teaching by example, even when it feels uncomfortable. I wish I had known that saying no can also be an act of love. If you are listening to my story, I want you to hear this. Your sacrifices matter, even if no one says thank you. Your feelings matter, even if they are ignored. And your life does not end when your child starts theirs. Strength is not loud. It does not demand attention. Sometimes strength is simply choosing peace, choosing to heal, choosing yourself. That is what I did. Not all at once, but slowly. My future looks different now. Simpler, but it is still mine. I wake up with calm. I sleep without regret. And that, to me, is a kind of wealth. Love should never leave you empty, and giving should never erase you. We can love deeply and still protect our hearts. That is not selfish. That is wise. This is not a story about money. It never was. It is a story about boundaries, about growth, about learning, even late in life. And if my story teaches anything, I hope it teaches this. You can forgive without forgetting your worth, and you can move forward without carrying the weight of the past. I am still a mother. I am still loving. But now, I am whole.